July has been a month of reflection for me. I believe that this is for a few reasons, chiefly among them the back injury I mentioned happening in my last vlog. I haven't really felt up to going out and doing much for a lot of the month, so I've been home quite a bit. Sorry in advance for my footage not being nearly as varied this month as it has been in the past, but that's why. I also attribute my month of reflection to a couple of events that happened recently. One such event was my class reunion. I ended up driving back to my hometown because we had an 11-year reunion this year since we were unable to have our 10-year reunion last year due to COVID. With this coming up, I ended up doing a lot of thinking about my past high school experience. For a long time after graduating, I remember thinking that I hated high school, but looking back on it now, I don't think I hated it as much as I initially told myself that I did. The first 2 years of high school were probably the best years of school for me, honestly. I made a good group of friends, and I was able to drive, so for the first time I was able to hang out with those friends after school, which is something I hadn't been able to experience much at all in, say, middle school, because we lived so far out of town when I was a kid. And these good things for the most part continued, but unfortunately, I had undiagnosed depression, which led to a suicide attempt my junior year. I had a lot of pent-up hatred towards myself, and honestly it's something that isn't completely gone, but I've come a long way since then. Things my senior year get a little foggy because I ended up having undiagnosed severe anemia, to the point where I was sleeping 18 plus hours a day. I specifically remember a 3-day stint where I slept all night and most of the day, woke up around 6 p.m., showered, ate dinner, and went back to bed, each of those 3 days. I think that this was around the time that we brought it up with the doctors. We had no idea what was wrong. Both my parents and I had just thought that I was depressed up until that point, and my parents were being really supportive too. I remember one morning my dad gave me a 5-hour energy shot, which I hilariously slept through, to wake up to sheets drenched in sweat because of all the energy I wasn't using. Obviously, sleeping through all these school days didn't go over very well with the school, and honestly there were those at school that made my life very difficult for me because of it. I almost didn't graduate, which was rough because up until that point I had been a straight A student. But I digress. I'm telling you all of this because it relates to my second point. Tiffany and I watched an amazing film this last month called 3 Idiots. It's a Bollywood film about some Indian students attending a prestigious engineering college in India. It covers a lot of topics like the job market, the education system, the expectations of the world around you, and suicide. A lot of things in this film really resonated with me and my experiences. One of the main overarching themes, though, is passion. The main characters meet another character who tries to show them that in order to find true happiness and contentment, you need to follow your passion, and when you stumble a bit, you just need to take a deep breath, place your hand over your heart, and say, "All is well." I realized recently I haven't been passionate about much for a very long time. I think that there are a variety of reasons for this, but one of them I think relates to my high school experience. When I was dealing with depression, somewhere along the way I think I learned a way to dial my emotions down. Like, if normal people feel emotions at levels around 100%, somehow I found a dial that allows me to set a cap at, say, 20%. I think I probably started doing this as a defensive mechanism, in response to all the negative feelings I've had to deal with. And it makes sense, right? As a way to kind of survive all that, I found a sort of way to disassociate myself from my emotions, so they become this distant thing that I was aware of, but separate from. And on paper, that feels like a very useful skill to have, right? Like, who wouldn't want to lessen the negative emotions you're feeling in life? The problem that I run into is that this is a package deal. By distancing myself from my emotions, implicitly that includes my positive emotions. It's kind of an all or nothing type of thing. And to add to this problem, or really even to get to the root of it, I don't think I know how to turn the dial back up. And I kind of want to be clear here, I don't think I'm a robot or anything like that. I still feel these emotions, but it's almost like they're watered down to something that's easily digestible, but ultimately bland. Like I'm missing all the flavor, and I'm just eating boiled potatoes. No salt, no pepper, no butter, just potatoes. And I think that there are other reasons for this too. It's been a tough few years for me. I remember Tiffany used to have me take all sorts of personality tests. I don't usually put a lot of stock in those things because a lot of them are really shallow and cheap, but she always found the good ones. I remember that I took one that had something that really resonated with me, and so I'm going to try to explain it the best that I can. Emotionally, I think that I'm like a sponge, in that I sort of soak up and absorb the emotions of those around me and take them into myself. They had some name for it, but I think it was some form of empathy, where when I empathize with somebody, I actually feel what I imagine that they are feeling. And this can be a really good thing, because I can use it to relate to people that I'm close with and try to understand them better and hopefully help them. But it's a double-edged sword, too. The world right now is so angry. When I turn on the TV or hop on my computer, it seems like no matter where I go, no matter what I'm doing, there are always these very vocal groups of people that are angry, and it's all anyone ever wants to talk about. Whether it's politics or some celebrity or whatever, I can't seem to interact with people without it being brought up in some way. So I either have to engage and feel those feelings, or I have to cut myself off, which is what I fear I may have done. I don't cry very often, and I haven't cried often for a really long time, likely because of what I'm talking about now. But I did sometime in the last year or two. I broke down because I felt like I couldn't talk to or relate to anybody, and it was just so devastatingly lonely for me. Just thinking about it now gives me this awful feeling. All of this has been a struggle for me, and if I try to think about how I've been feeling the last few years, the thing that immediately comes to mind is exhausted. I feel like I could spend an entire week in bed and still not feel rested. But, ironically, I think that the only way to get out of this cycle of exhaustion is with more work. For the last year or so, I've been trying to put a lot more effort into my relationships with people, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. I've been trying to kind of be honest with myself and with them and tell them how important that they are to me. It's difficult, but it feels good to be connecting with people on a deeper level, and in some cases reconnecting with people that I haven't talked to in a long time. I also need to bring all this up in therapy. It's been a while since I've had a session, which is my own fault, but I have a session coming up soon, and I hope that I'll be able to discuss the meat of all of this in it. Lastly, I've been trying to rediscover my passion. I think that doing these sort of vlog type things where I say all these thoughts that I've been having out loud and share them with people has really helped me. I want to share my experiences, partly because sharing them feels good, but also part of me thinks maybe all of this will be helpful for somebody else out there, maybe someone I care about. And in my search to rediscover my passion, I've been getting more creative lately. I posted a new poem on my writing website, which I'll link down below for anyone interested, and I've also got a couple ideas for some creative stuff that I plan to do here on YouTube. Anyways, that's it. I don't really have an answer or anything for the stuff that I've been dealing with, but I tried to end it on at least a hopeful note. Hopefully I didn't bum anybody out too much, I just really felt the need to share some of this stuff. So, for those of you who are watched or listened all the way through to the end of this video, thank you, I truly appreciate you. And as always, I hope you're having a good day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.